Hi everyone, it's Mercedes. I'm here to share a little story of mine about trusting yourself and trusting timing. So yesterday, I went to the store with the intention of buying LED candles for a yoga event that I'm putting together. So I went with a friend of mine, and another friend had told me that the store had them in stock. She even took a photo and sent it to me. And so here I was after lunch, and I had a little bit of time. I was kind of in a hurry, and I asked my friend, I said, "Do you have time for us to just dart in and grab a few of those LED candles? You know, I'm in the neighborhood, so why not?" And he said, "Sure." So we walk in and we go straight to the home section. And instead of going straight to the end of the section or just going straight, period, I started thinking, oh, well, I should probably look into different alleys and roads, and I should probably turn left and, go systematically so I go faster. And so I left brained it a little bit. And I started looking around, and I was looking really at eye level and on shelves, and uh, trying to logically figure out where they would be, because I thought that's how stores work. And, I don't have a lot of time, so let's do it in a structured way. Uh, a very effective thinking, right? And so after I'd spent several minutes looking around, the friend that came with me actually looked up a minute and pointed them out on the wall, on an upper shelf that was right facing where we had come in. So had I looked forward and looked up to see the big picture, I would have seen that what I was looking for was right in front of me and was just a little higher than I expected. And I just needed to walk to it, pick them up, and go. But because I decided to left brain it, I totally missed what was right in front of me. And I took the rational steps of trying to systematize, how I was going to find my LED candle. So I made a really big deal out of something super small. And I didn't trust myself to just have a quick look around and see, oh, okay, they're here. I could have saved myself a lot of time and energy and probably a little bit of stress because I was in a hurry had I just looked up to see the big picture, right? Or get the overview of the layout of the store. And so I realized later on that this was a pretty awesome metaphor for how sometimes I and a lot of people deal with life, right? So here's what I learned about me. I'm impatient. I've known that I'm impatient since I was a little girl. This is a trait that I've managed to improve on some levels, but has sort of always stuck with me. And in the process of me being impatient and wanting to create things right now, I sometimes make silly decisions, or just end up plain slowing myself down and standing in my own way, right? And I also found that I will sometimes negate my gut feeling or just natural flow to follow rational steps because that's how we're taught to function. So I follow rational steps sometimes when it's even just it's a more intuitive solution that'll get me there faster, right? In this case, it was just to walk straight. I was already on that path. I could have just walked and looked up, and it would have been right there. And another thing is I take detours when the path is even sometimes easier and more obvious, right? And I looked at what was right in front of me. Once I was in the rows, I looked at eye level. I didn't look above. I didn't challenge myself to have kind of a broader outlook, right? So I had the expectation that the candles would be on the eye level or on a shelf that I could easily reach. And in reality, it was higher and I would have needed to work a little bit to pick them up, though they were perfectly uh, obvious in plain sight when I walked in. I just missed them. right? So that tells me that sometimes I have to aim a little higher to get what I want, look a little higher, and also be prepared to work for it, right? I'm not a super tall person, so I had to reach to get the candles myself, or perhaps even ask for help. So that may have been a small event. It was just me shopping for something I needed for an event, but it spoke volumes to me about how my own behavior and how we sometimes go against our own instincts because we're taught a certain way of being, a certain way of thinking, and we end up standing in our own way. So, on that note, I invite you to notice where you rush, when you rush and feel impatient. Notice what's going on for you and what you might be missing because you're in a hurry, right? And look at where in your life you tend to left brain solutions when your gut tells you something. I'm not saying throw rational thinking out the window completely, but sometimes certain situations call for our intuition more than um, rationality because the feeling is overwhelming and you can tell something is up or something is off, and perhaps the solution is much easier than what your brain can think of. So your gut might turn out to be right. So notice where you tend to left brain when you still have a very strong gut feeling, and notice what's happening. And then can you try just for a week to trust yourself and that gut feeling, and also to trust universal or divine timing, whatever you choose to call it. Um, because sometimes when we have our own timeline, we end up um, slowing things down for ourselves, right? So comment on the video below and share your biggest indicator that you're not listening to your gut. So you can share a little story or perhaps just your best tips. All right. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for tuning in and talk to you soon. Bye.